Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is Still the Press. We're reaching you live from Kaftan's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. And like I said earlier, tomorrow is World No Tobacco Day. And that's what we'll be discussing today. I've got two guests in the studio. My first guest is Akinbode Oluwafemi, who is the board chairman, Nigeria Tobacco Control Alliance. Great to have you on the show this morning, sir.
Good morning. All
right. And my next guest on the show today is Michael Olaniyan, who is country coordinator, campaign for tobacco-free kids. Great to have you on the show.
My pleasure.
All right, now let's go straight to World No Tobacco Day. We'll start with you, Oluwafemi. Why exactly do you think that this year's World No Tobacco Day, the theme is protecting children from tobacco industry interference? Why exactly is it focused, or why are they spotlighting children this year?
So the simple thing is that when you smoke, it's likely going to kill you. Tobacco is the only product that kills half of its user when used as prescribed by the manufacturers. And so when your customer die, what do? You have to recruit new ones. You have to recruit younger ones. So the tobacco industry, to continue to stay in business, continue to market their products to children, they continue to undermine laws to ensure that children are exposed to tobacco products. And most importantly, recently they've started what we call new products by associating tobacco products with candies that we call sweets here, by all sorts of novel products that are non-combustible, different types of product that we will see now in Nigeria, like the electronic cigarette, like the vapes, and the rest of them. And WHO now thought that it is wise now to raise global awareness about the fact that governments and people around the world must begin to take measures to protect our children from tobacco smoke.
All right, great. Okay, so now, if they say smokers are liable to die young, so it means that smoke, but do it with caution, yeah? And then you also have, for gaming, they say game responsibly or drink responsibly. So why I keep hearing people say that you're asking us to not to smoke, but then you are still selling it to us. What exactly do you think? Why do you have that that discrepancy? Is it because we are in the business, so we have to sell our product, but then smoke, but please be careful? Why do you have that clause there?
So the interesting thing is that line, smokers are liable to die young, has been discontinued several years back. It's just funny that a lot of Nigerians don't know. And why was that discontinued? Actually, the Ministry of Health realized that doesn't work. Because when you say smokers are liable to die young, it brought the essence of probability. You may, you may not. It is certain that tobacco kills. If you pick a pack of cigarettes today, you can do that. I mean, when you leave work, just leave but don't smoke. Pick it, you say that what is there is tobacco kills. Tobacco causes cancer. So the messaging now are very definite, sharp, and very clear to whoever pick a pack of cigarettes. And Nigeria is currently, is rotating one, is as we call them. However, what we're saying is that, given the volume of scientific evidence that we have today, let's say governments around the world do have it, like 50 years back, probably we won't be having this problem we have today. But there is a global convention, which is called the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, which governments now aligns with, that looks at the supply chain as well as the consumption chain. And there are a lot of ventures for which it is expected that if government around the world implement and enforce them, advertisement ban, raise taxes on tobacco products, don't sell to minors, don't sell to children, and don't send your children to go and buy tobacco products, gradually will begin to reduce consumption. And a lot of developed countries that are enforcing those laws consensuously are beginning to witness reduction in smoking rates in their own country.
Okay, so let me bring the question to you, Michael. Now I hear him talk about the fact that that don't sell these drugs and all of that. I'm going to ask you two questions and I'd like you to unbundle them in one breath. Now, if you say don't sell the drugs, I hear before now, or a few months ago, we had that protest or that campaign with regards to sugar drinks or soft drinks, so as to reduce they talked about diabetes and all of that. But then if you also have this campaign saying let's reduce, let's put more tax on tobacco just to reduce the number of smokers, how effective or how much do you see that happening? That's one on the side. And then secondly, why is this year's own targeted towards the younger generation? Because now you see that they're almost always at the receiving end. Your father sends you, please go and buy me a stick of cigarettes, and then before you know it, you're learning how to smoke. So why is it targeted at children this year?
Okay, so I'll start with the second question, which is, why is it targeted at children? Like Mr. Akinbode said, when the smokers die, what the industry does is to target younger people to be replacement customers, more or less. And what we have also realized from evidence has shown that any habit, particularly when it comes to smoking and consumption of tobacco products, if you don't start by the time you cross the age of 2021, you are less likely to pick up the habit. So what the industry, and the industry is very much aware of this, so what the industry does is to target children. And so this year's theme is to say governments need to protect children from this targeted marketing by the industry. And they are doing a whole lot of, you will be shocked at the level of work that is going into targeting children to ensure that children consume tobacco products. All forms of false narratives, all forms of creative advertisement targeting children. But if we are able to prevent children from accessing this kind of information, by the time they attain the age of maturity, over 18, in some countries 21, when they are above the age of minority, then they are able to make informed decisions based on their health, their economics, and all of those other things. So the essence of this year's theme is to protect children from receiving such targeted marketing, to prevent the industry from marketing to children and all the gimmicks that they use to target minors. Okay. Now, with regards to tobacco taxation works, and we've seen it in different parts of the world. My organization supports governments and civil society organizations across the globe. And one thing that we have seen consistently is that tobacco taxation is one factor that is the easiest to implement and one of the most effective measures for controlling tobacco consumption. And the mathematics is not so far-fetched. If you look at when it is cheap, the likelihood of children, because at the end of the day, it still comes back to the child. The children are more likely to be able to afford it. So if a stick of cigarette goes for, say, 5 naira, it's easy to experiment. You can take 5 naira, buy a stick of cigarette, experiment. And you see that when you start is what you know. When you will stop, you never can predict. That's the thing with tobacco. So once you start, once you experiment, you take that first puff, you get addicted. Over time, you begin to look for money anyhow to be able to sustain that addiction. But when you raise taxes, it takes it out of the reach of young people. It takes it out of the reach of even a majority of the people. Is
it currently out of the reach of young people?
No, it's not.
Okay.
So, and that's because, as of today, taxation, and the logic around tobacco taxation is quite simple. It's that when you raise taxes, it must be substantial enough to impact price. When it impacts price, that is when you begin to see consumption go down. But as of today, the tax that is placed on tobacco products today in Nigeria is not sufficient to impact price. The little price increase that we have seen is even so small compared to the rate of inflation that's in the market. So even regular beneficial products are getting far more expensive than the products that kill. So definitely tobacco tax works, and Nigeria needs to continue, because that has started already. Nigeria needs to continue to look in that direction, in addition to all the other work that's going on, to ensure that children are not able to afford tobacco products.
Oh, great. Okay, so let me bring the question back to you. Now, as the board chairman, what kind of legislations are you expecting to see from the government or the National Assembly members if they come out to say that we don't want the old national anthem, let it be changed, and in the flip of a finger it was changed? What kind of legislation do you want to see, and how quick do you want to see this happen?
First, let me say that we do have like 2 laws if you want to use it that way, we have the National Tobacco Control Act 2015, which is comprehensive. We have the National Tobacco Control Regulation 2019. Now, just recently, the National Film and Video Censors Board announced restriction of smoking in Nigerian movies, which it's a very good thing for us. So the first thing I would say is we need to enforce what we have. Those laws can take us somewhere. Though they're not adequate, they're not sufficient enough, but we need the Nigerian government to enforce those laws. The Nigerian Film and Video Censors Board has done greatly by looking at the loopholes, which is the tobacco companies move their advertisement, their indirect advertisement under the some form of promotion also to the movies and the skit makers and the rest of them. And they're now looking at, beginning from this June, to enforce a law that will not allow them, movie makers to glamorize. That is good news. However, I like what you said. I think there was a standard that we record set with the national anthem, where the National Assembly can also then pass law within like 24 hours. It's commendable. We are watching and we are noting that as Nigerians, there are loopholes in the National Tobacco Control Act. There are, products now that were not, let's say, properly captured. We are beginning to see vapes. We are beginning to see electric cigarettes. We need them clearly covered. So we're saying that we'll expect that kind of speed, because this is a law that has to do with the health of Nigerians, protecting our health, and of course, when you protect the health, you protect the economy. So we expect that, at some point, the National Assembly will look at some of these very, very pro-health laws and not drag them forever, and then give Nigerian laws that can protect our health and our society.
Okay, so I had I don't want to call it an argument. I had a conversation with some people, and then we're talking about what is ethical and what is not ethical, what is legal and what is ethical. And then they say tobacco smoking is legal, but it's unethical. And we started having that conversations around it. And then other persons will say, the same lawmakers that you are telling them to make it illegal, that is where they find succor sometimes. So how very quick can we get this happen, especially when you tell a lawmaker, please, for the sake of our children, let's put a clause to that law, but then they will remind you that even some of them, that's where they find help.
Well, I'm not a lawyer. Let me just make that very clear. But as of today, tobacco is legal. It's a legal product, quote and unquote. But when you have legal products, or you are entitled as citizens to certain legal conducts, that right also comes with conditions, comes with regulations. So you do this to do this. You get a driver's license because we drive on the right side of the road. You don't get a driver's license and go and drive wrong way. They will arrest you. If you are in Lagos, you park your vehicle. So you won't say, it's my right to drive. So basically what we're saying is that why this remains a legal product, you have to market and consume them under these conditionalities. Do you understand? That, look, the government has come up with the National Tobacco Control Act that says you cannot advertise, you cannot promote this product, you can't sell to kids. You cannot smoke in public places. You cannot smoke where children are around and things like that. And those are the laws of the land for you to continue to, quote and unquote, enjoy that legal right that you're trying to claim.
Okay.
I think Michael can help me out.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm a lawyer, and issues around law and ethics, there's a thin line, really, because law is a subject of legislation, whether it's legal or not. Is once the law has been passed, it becomes either legal or illegal, and ethics is in the gray area. For some, what is ethical to you may not be ethical to in other climes. Right. So when we talk about smoking and the regulation of smoking as a legal or ethical issue, it's both, really. So it's legal in the sense that the government can regulate it, particularly as it affects productivity, affects the health of the people, because the Constitution also places a duty on the government to protect the health and well-being of the citizens. And so consumption of tobacco affects the health and well-being of citizens. Particularly, it's even more so when you consider the fact that people that smoke indiscriminately around non-smokers, contribute to the ill health of a non-smoker. So it's unlike other products that when you consume, like sugar, for instance, you consume sugar, it's you and your health alone. There is no second-hand sugar consumption, But when it comes to tobacco, there's second-hand smoke. Okay. Which means you can do all you want, all you care to protect yourself against the harms of consumption of tobacco products. But when another person consumes it beside you, you still get sick.
Okay.
And so the government has a duty to regulate that space.
Okay. So I'm sure that has already answered your question, especially you that is having that argument. I'm sure you're watching and that has answered that question. All right, our time is fast spent, but before we let you go, I'd like to get your thoughts. I'd like you to speak to Nigerians as we're commemorating World No Tobacco Day, to speak to Nigerian parents, even those that are selling these tobacco products, on why we're big on this World No Tobacco Day, especially spotlighting the younger generations. All
right. My simple message to Nigerians is we all have a duty. We all have a role to play. It's not just a government matter. It's not just the civil society. As parents, you have a duty to protect your children. They are our today and they are our future. So we have a duty to ensure that we see a future that is healthy, that is productive, and that is worth, an environment that is worth handing over to the next generation. It's not just for us to say you cannot sell. There's also a duty to educate the kids, the children, against the dangers of consumption of tobacco products. It's important that you protect them. You watch what they are viewing on their screens, whether it's social media, whether it's on TV, whatever platform. You need to regulate what they see, because what they see on screen affects their perception of life. It's the duty of the caregivers in schools to protect them by giving the accurate information, educating them about what tobacco does to their health. It's the duty of civil society to continue to do this. It's the duty of the media to ensure that this kind of message gets out there and that Nigerians are aware. And above all, it's the duty of the government to enforce the laws that they have passed. Enough of having laws on the shelf. We are so big on passing laws. We have so many laws, but we need to move from passage of laws to enforcement. And when we do all of this, we'll have a better and a healthier society. All right,
let's take your landing thoughts, Mr. Oluwafemi. Apart from the commemoration, apart from the advocacy and all that you see that will happen tomorrow, what are your lasting words to Nigerians?
It's to fully adopt what Michael has just said, and then challenge our subnational governments, the state governments, the local governments, that they should not just think this is a federal government issue. Health is on concurrent lists. They should pick this up and run with it and protect their citizens and their children in those states.
That's a very, very good place to land on this conversation. Thank you so much, Akinbode Oluwafemi, Board Chairman, Nigeria Tobacco Control Alliance. Thank you so much for your time with us.
Thank you so much.
And also we had Michael Olaniyan, who is Country Coordinator, Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. Thank you so much for your time with us.
It's my pleasure.
All right, viewers, that's where we end this conversation for today. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful time. Remember all that they say. Please keep your kids away from tobacco and stay safe. My name is Annabelle Oji. Good morning.